Did you know the most powerful monarch in English history never married, never shared her throne, and never backed down from a world ruled by men? Welcome to my channel, and today we are giving you the life story of Elizabeth I of England, born into the British royal family in 1533. Princess Elizabeth was the daughter of King Henry VIII and his second wife, Anne Boleyn. Her arrival on September of that year was greeted with great fanfare. That was because the marriage of Henry and Anne had torn England from the Catholic Church, plunging the kingdom into spiritual chaos, and the birth of a healthy baby girl was seen as a sign of God's favor for the young king and his new wife. But just 3 years later, Anne was beheaded on her father's orders, declared illegitimate and pushed aside. Elizabeth, once a princess, was now nothing more than a subject. She was raised in the shadows of power, always watched, always doubted, always feared. When her older sister Mary Tudor took the throne, Elizabeth became a suspect in a plot to kill her. She spent nearly 4 years locked up in the Tower of London, surviving by silence, by careful words, by knowing when not to speak at all. In 1558, however, Elizabeth was crowned Queen of England at the age of 25, a Protestant queen in a divided land, a woman in a world of kings, a ruler without a husband in a court filled with hungry nobles and foreign eyes. But Elizabeth had something no man at court did: the will of a survivor. Declaring herself married to England, she said, "I have already joined myself in marriage to a husband, namely the Kingdom of England." Where others saw vulnerability, she saw strategy. She used courtship as diplomacy, dangling proposals before princes and kings and then pulling away just before the deal was struck. This made Elizabeth the most eligible bachelorette in Europe, but she was content to remain single, telling one suitor after another, "I am myself, my own husband." With no heir of a direct descendant, she solidified her power base by promoting members of the nobility. During her reign, England transitioned from a medieval to a modern nation. Under her guidance, Protestantism triumphed over Catholicism. But she kept the peace with the Catholics by making no effort to suppress their worship. She also played the role of the Virgin Queen to perfection. She dressed as a man to ride astride a horse and shot a buck with a crossbow at Windsor Great Park. She enjoyed hunting, hawking, dancing, playing tennis, bathing, and smoking cigars. Her portrait was placed on coins, postage stamps, and even playing cards. For 45 years, she personified the spirit of England. She declared her intention to marry the kingdom. And while she held the title of the Virgin Queen, she became the mother of her people. She also earned the loyalty of her One courtier wrote, "There is nothing in the world that can be compared to the greatness of her spirit. The mere force of her presence and majesty gives life to some, and doth make them brave. And there is such a divinity in her countenance that it striketh awe and reverence into the hearts of those that do behold her." However, her greatest challenge came in 1588, when the most powerful empire in the world sent an armada of 130 ships to conquer England. Most thought England would lose the war against Spain. But Elizabeth stood before her troops at Tilbury, dressed in silver armor, and with a speech that has become famous throughout history. She declared, "I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king. And of a king of England too." And as if by magic, the English fleet appeared and began attacking the Spanish Armada. They fought bravely, but they were no match for the English. Storm and fire scattered the Spanish Armada, and England remained free. Throughout her life, Elizabeth had been called a heretic, a tyrant, a child of the devil, too soft and too hard. But after defeating the Armada, she was acclaimed across Europe as the defender of the faith. Throughout her reign, England experienced what is known as the Elizabethan Age, or the Golden Age, during which England transformed itself into a world power. England defeated the Spanish Armada and began conquering the seas. Sir Francis Drake sailed around the globe between 1577 and 1580. England established colonies in North America and explored the coasts of Africa. England became a commercial and maritime giant, and other countries began to take notice. The arts flourished during her reign as well. Poets, playwrights, and scientists pushed to the boundaries of their creativity and discovery, and England became a hub of intellectual energy. Christopher Marlowe, William Shakespeare, Edmund Custis, Ben Jonson, John Milton, Francis Bacon, and others produced works that helped make Elizabethan England one of the greatest periods of English literature. Scientists such as William Gilbert and Edmund Custis advanced the fields of magnetism and optics. There was an unprecedented flowering of music as well. William Byrd and other composers fused sacred and secular music into a uniquely English style. Elizabeth loved the theatre, and it is likely that she saw Hamlet and Othello performed on stage. Historians believe that Shakespeare based one of his most famous heroines on her. He wrote, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players." But Elizabeth's power came with a price. During her reign, she had two of her cousins, Mary Queen of Scots and Lady Arabella Stuart, executed for plotting to overthrow her and replace her with someone else on the throne. While Elizabeth had shown mercy to her half-sister Mary during her time in prison, when Mary plotted to kill her, Elizabeth had no choice but to execute her cousin. Many people believed that Mary was innocent, but the threat that Mary posed to Elizabeth's authority could not be ignored. Another price Elizabeth paid to remain the Virgin Queen was her relationship with her people. Because she could not bear children, rumors spread that she was frigid, had small breasts, was sexually inept and hated sex. While these rumors may have been false, they damaged her reputation and caused people to doubt her femininity. Moreover, historians note that Elizabeth probably suffered from endometriosis, a painful disease in which uterine tissue grows outside the uterus. If she did indeed suffer from this illness, it may help explain why she never married. Another reason Elizabeth remained a virgin was because she wanted to avoid the fate of her mother and grandmother. Both of them lost their heads quite literally. Henry VIII's beheaded Anne Boleyn, and Henry's second wife, Catherine Parr, outlived him and married a man named Thomas Seymour, who himself was beheaded, and Catherine died in childbirth soon afterward. Elizabeth knew that if she married, she would have to give up some of her power to her husband, so she decided to stay unmarried. Furthermore, by remaining unmarried, Elizabeth could focus on ruling England instead of starting a family. She was so dedicated to her job that she earned the nickname Glorious from her subjects. Elizabeth's propaganda team carefully crafted her image. Painters adorned her portraits with jewels, lace, and flowing hair, adorning her with symbols of divinity. They painted her as a kind of goddess. Artists depicted her wearing the robes of a Roman empress or the garments of a medieval queen. Some paintings showed her riding a horse astride, while others showed her holding a sword or spear. The images projected an aura of power and strength. Still, despite all the work done to make her seem untouchable, we have some idea of what she looked like. According to a visitor to the English court in 1575, Elizabeth was short with a round face, red hair, pale skin, small hands and feet, and a sharp nose. He described her as being rather plain in apparel, but very stately in carriage. She was very well spoken and understood the Latin, French, and Italian tongues, he added. He also noted that she worked diligently and early in the morning, and that she kept her chamber door open so that anyone could enter and talk to her. As her reign stretched into its 5th decade, Elizabeth grew old. The once vibrant court darkened with whispers that the Virgin Queen would die without an heir. She had no children, no king to follow her, and yet she reigned. When Elizabeth ascended to the throne, England was a kingdom of 4 million people. By the end of her reign, it was 7 million. Though the country suffered through plague outbreaks, civil unrest, and foreign wars, Elizabeth's policies guided it through these disasters. She restored order to England, built up its economy, created an overseas empire, and established a golden age of literature, art, and culture. Throughout her reign, she was careful to control the narrative about herself. Members of the press were invited to watch her bathe, dress, and undress. They published pamphlets and broadsides that promoted her virginal status, and they spread rumors about her love life to bolster her public image. Even after her death, her propaganda team continued to publish pieces that glorified her rule. Then, in 1603, at age 69, Elizabeth lay on her deathbed. She refused to name a successor, refused to show weakness. She had no obvious heir, refused to let the court choose her replacement. And so, when death came for her, it came not for a woman, but for a monarch. ElizabethI ruled for 45 years, never married, never yielded, and in a world where queens were meant to be wives and mothers, became a symbol not of submission, but of strength, not of lineage, but of leadership. She was the Virgin Queen, the Lioness of England, and when she died, and age died with her. If you want more stories like this one, of power, betrayal, and the people who shaped the world, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up for more epic tales. Comment below with your thoughts, and catch you next time on my channel.